talking Louisville Cardinals today on Sharpen the Point. 2024, 9-4 season. It's pretty good, but losing at Stanford was a crushing blow to an otherwise quality season. I think if Isaac Brown had stayed healthy, they win that game, get to double digits, and who knows where they go there. Jeff Brom comes back for his third season, and he keeps his coordinators around so that coaching continuity is going to be there. Quarterback-wise, Tyler Shuck finally found a way to stay healthy for the first time in his college career with a nearly 3,200-yard, 23-touchdown season, leading him to being drafted in the second round, and he flew up those draft boards because he's got a ton of talent. You know, the talent, like I said, it's always been there for Shuck. He just did not know how to stay on the field, but he managed to not put his body on the line, routinely sliding to avoid hits. You could really tell he made a concerted effort to remain on the field and not use his athleticism where he previously would have lowered his shoulder to try to gain an extra yard or two or keep a play alive. He's gone now, and enter Miller Moss, who comes from USC. He parlayed a superb bowl game appearance in 2023, coincidentally against this Louisville team, into a starting job for the Trojans in 2024. He was serviceable in his 9 starts, routinely racking up good yardage on his way to north of 2,500 yards with 18 touchdowns. But the 9 interceptions, lack of mobility, and overall team results led to a change where he was replaced late in the year. Moss doesn't have the arm strength that Tyler Shuck possessed, but he is capable of making good decisions, getting the ball out on time, and operating this offense effectively. He is the unquestioned starter heading into the fall, and they will look to lean on him heavily. Running back-wise, this room was a concern heading into last season with a lack of proven production, but those questions were answered forcefully and not by who we may have thought they would have been. You know, the duo of Isaac Brown and Duke Watson is now one of the more underrated tandems in college football as far as I'm concerned, and they should really rank near the top of it. Brown was a revelation last year, ripping off chunk plays en route to ACC Freshman of the Year during a near 1,200-yard, 11-touchdown season where he was banged up and missed an easy Stanford game that killed my DFS lineups, I know that. He's going to reprise his role as the lead dog here, and I'd expect him to be even better with a heavier workload because he's not going to start the season as a kind of a backup mix-in player. Watson, he did not get nearly as much opportunity as Brown, but was insanely efficient with his touches, averaging almost 9 yards per carry, which led the country, to get nearly 600 yards and 7 touchdowns. He came on particularly strong over the final 4 games of the year with almost 400 yards and 5 touchdowns in that span, taking full advantage of Brown being injured against Stanford with 117 yards in that and 3 touchdowns in that contest, and being the guy that I wish I would have played. Watson is a great pass catcher, and anytime you can get him into space, it's going for a big gain overall. He'll be a great player this year. Kewan Brown, he's going to be the third option in the backfield as someone who will step into a role should either of the top 2 have any health concerns. He's a good back with some experience who was nice to keep around after he hit the portal in the offseason. Brown had the best spring of the group from what the coaches have been saying, though, and he might earn more opportunities. Pass catcher-wise, the top target in a Brom offense tends to get more concentrated set of targets than many offenses across the country. You look at Charlie Jones, Rondale Moore, Ja'Cory Brooks last year. Heading into last season, the expectation was that Colin Lacey would be that guy, but a collarbone injury a couple weeks before the season in camp caused him to miss the early portion of the year, and it thrust Ja'Cory Brooks into that spot. Brooks took the target share and never really gave it back, going for over 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns, even with Lacey returning to the lineup during the middle portion of the season before he shut it down to redshirt and it come back this year. Lacey now returns as the leader of that slot area. You know, Brooks operated on the outside. He was the number 1. Now it's going to be Lacey in the slot as the top guy, and I think he's going to be the top target earner given his previous standing and ability to get consistently open while making plays after the catch. He had 99 yards and a touchdown in the spring game, showing his upside and how well his skill set matches with Miller Moss. You know, Moss worked really well with Makai Lemon, who has a similar skill set at USC. Chris Bell, he certainly has one of the outside spots locked down. He operated as the number 2 last year. He notched over 700 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's really waited his turn to be the guy, showed flashes that he's capable of being the guy if necessary, but I'm still thinking he takes a back seat to Lacey here. Bell will still get plenty of targets with the ability to work at all levels of the field, being a differentiator for the offense. He's really improved his emotional output, we'll say, not getting as many bad penalties and 15-yarders as he did early in his career. His counterpart on the outside is really a competition between 2 portal additions in Dakari Collins, who comes over from NC State, and Trayshawn Hurry from San Jose State. Both of those guys have good size and the ability to stretch the field, opening up the underneath stuff for the other 2. Collins probably has the leg up in this competition given his experience in the ACC. But for me, the upside and long-term prospects of Hurry will force him onto the field ahead of Collins eventually during the season. Tight end Nate Kuriski, he's going to move to the top spot of the depth chart with the departures of Mark Redmond and Jamari Johnson. Kuriski's consistently good at both blocking and receiving, having looked the part in the spring game. Coaching staff really likes him. Offensive line play under Braum has really been a strength consistently, and although there is some turnover with Austin Collins and Moreau Mills transferring out, weird that they did, they're set up to be a quality unit once again. Any conversation about this offensive line group has to start with the center, Pete Nigra. He's again going to anchor and be the leader of this unit. He's going to be running. He's going to be in the running for an all-conference teams this year, certainly. Nair Jackson and Lance Robinson, they look like the guard spots are locked down. Jackson had a strong spring stepping in for Collins. He looked the part of a quality starter there. Robinson missed all of last season with an injury, but the staff is really high on him, so it makes sense that he's going to start right away. Overall, the Cardinals have options and depth at the tackle spots. Trevonte Sylvester, he holds the top spot at left tackle as he stepped in last year midway through the season and performed pretty well. He's going to be pushed by Mohamed Musa from Purdue. He brings a lot of experience but was sidelined some during the spring with injury. I think that leads to Sylvester getting the early shot there. Right tackle Rasheed Miller should get the first crack after he started here last year before going down with an injury. He showed he was healthy in the spring and looked good. Mykylin Pounders, he comes over from Mississippi State. He's going to be the main competition as he comes with some SEC experience and has a chance to really push either tackle spot if someone falters at all. Defensive line-wise, last year this was a deep, talented veteran group, but a good number of key contributors are now moving on, and guys will need to step up to replace them. A strong transfer portal class will be relied upon to make an impact here. Clev Lubin, he comes over from Coastal Carolina. Wesley Bailey from Rutgers. Denzel Lowry from Old Dominion. Jerry Lawson from Abilene Christian. And Justin Beatles from New Mexico State. They're all going to be a part of the rotation to some degree. Lubin and Bailey are going to be the top guys, though. Lubin was a game wrecker at Coastal, notching double-digit sacks. And as of now, it looks like he will be a top backup. But I bet he sees plenty of snaps in obvious passing situations because he knows how to get after the quarterback. Bailey, meanwhile, he looks like he will get the first crack at trying to replace Ashton Jalot. He had a good spring looking the part after an underrated career to this point at Rutgers. Adonai Green, he's currently penciled into the spot opposite of Bailey on that edge. As he ran with the top group often during the spring, Green oozes NFL potential with his frame, and he has the athleticism to even drop into short zone coverage, giving him added versatility with massive upside. In the middle of the park, returners Renee Conga and Jordan Gerard, they're going to step into feature roles after excelling really in limited capacity. Conga was great last season at eating up blocks and getting penetration, which only aided everyone around him, specifically the guys at the second level. And if Gerard is healthy, he's going to be a difference maker up front. And that showed in the latter half of the season as he really continued to improve. This is a very strong duo that's going to set the tone up front for these guys. Linebacker-wise, while the front four is going to have some new faces, the linebacker core all returns with TJ Quinn, Antonio Watts, and Stanquan Clark all back. Quinn is a steady presence that knows the defense better than the back of his hand. He makes sure everyone's lined up correctly. He's led the team in tackles each of the last 2 seasons, and there's no reason to believe that he won't again. His biggest weakness has really been in coverage, and that's something that Quinn really put an emphasis on this spring. If he wants his NFL prospects to go somewhere, he needs to improve there. Watts is currently slated to play a significant number of snaps given the lack of a true backup behind him at his position. He made the most of his opportunities last year as someone with true versatility, and he's improved every year that he's been in the system. I don't expect that to change this year. Clark is interesting. He is somebody that I believe the fan base will point to as the star of this defense. He's going to push Quinn for that lead in tackles, utilizing his athleticism to get after the ball. But just like Quinn, he needs to clean up his coverage ability as well. If he can get that just a bit more consistent, he's an NFL talent through and through. In the defensive backfield, the secondary loses their top 4 contributors from a unit that played well but tended to get beat deep a little bit too much. Now you got safety D'Angelo Hutchinson. He's the top returner with a host of transfers added to the room. Hutchinson to this point hasn't been a big playmaker, but with his responsibilities expanding, they could be coming. Pairing Hutchinson with JoJo Evans, he comes over from Florida International. He stepped right into that starting lineup in the spring and looked every bit the part. He shouldn't be a shock, as Evans was an all-conference selection for FIU and one of the top DBs in the group of 5 last year. Corners are going to be the biggest question mark on this defense right now. They lost their top 5 from the position last year, creating both depth and top-end concerns. Rodney Johnson comes in from Southern, and Raymond Mosby look like the starting duo currently coming out of the spring. Johnson was the most consistent during the spring, even in his step up in competition, and he flashed with an interception there in the game. His size will help him with tackling on the edge, which makes him a good boundary corner candidate. Mosby played well in that bowl game last year, but he's extremely green as a redshirt freshman who has earned his shot. There's more guys behind him that are going to need to step up as well in order to have somewhat of a rotation, specifically if somebody goes down. Looking at the schedule and outlook for this year, on offense, the run game is going to be nasty. I mean, it's a great pairing with a decent offensive line. And then Moss is going to be, at worst, serviceable with solid weapons on the outside. The line is stout, and scoring points should never be an issue with Braum as their coach. On the defensive side, I'm more confident in the front 4 being able to sustain the production with the new faces they have than I am with the back end. If the corners can step up and make plays, then it's going to be a quality unit all around. They just need to stay healthy on the back end to even stand a chance because depth is a big problem there. Eastern Kentucky, easy win. Game 2, James Madison. I'm going to reluctantly say that's an easy win, but I can always hope that my Dukes can make a run for it. Bowling Green, win at Pitt. That's a place that Louisville has struggled consistently, and they easily could again. I would lean win, but you cannot overlook that Pitt team. They are good enough to come up and take you down. Virginia, win at Miami. That's a tough road spot on a Friday. It's a home game for all the Florida guys on this roster. They've played really well traditionally against Miami, specifically on the road. I call it a coin flip. I don't buy Carson Beck being that good. I think this is a full coin flip game. It'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. Boston College, win at Virginia Tech. It's very odd that this is the first time playing in Blacksburg since joining the ACC. I think you take care of business, and I lean win there. Cal, win. Clemson. Braum plays well against the big guys. He gets these teams up, but I think it's a loss. Clemson is one of, if not, it's definitely the most talented team in the conference. It's just a question of where they fall nationally. At SMU, that's a coin flip for me. I think SMU is going to be a little bit worse than they were a year ago. I'll lean loss for now, but my mind could easily be changed there. Kentucky, win. I think Kentucky's going to be terrible. Having 8 home games is a scheduling anomaly for these guys, and it's really going to help raise the floor. The issue for me is that the 4 road games are tough opponents, and they're 4 of the 5 toughest opponents on the schedule outside of Clemson. I'd much rather trade some of those road games for Cal, BC, Virginia, as those are wins whether you playing them at home or on the road. 8 wins for me is the floor for this team, but I would not be shocked if they started the season 9-0, setting up a college game day clash against Clemson. A 10-win regular season is well within the realm of possibility, and I really look forward to seeing what Brown can do with this team.